Hi folks, it's Ren here, thinking out loud again. Telephones and telephony and advertising. I've come to the conclusion that telephones and telephony could, if they're not careful, end up being a dead sort of technology simply due to advertisers. I've got a phone behind me, a landline, and when I was running my business I used to have my telephone number up on my website so people could contact me and hopefully I could go and help them with the computers. And then because of this, of course, it must have got into the hands of various people, and all I have now is a stream of sales calls, PPI or spam stuff as well, or people trying to hack me. There's a problem with your computer, or the Inland Revenues wants to take me to court or something like that. There's loads of them out there. And quite a while back, I'm talking about 3 or 4 years ago now, it got so bad I took the phone apart and I cut the wires to the ringer, so it rings a few times and it goes to the answer phone, because otherwise I'd just be constantly answering the phone to flipping sales calls or hacking type messages, and it's ridiculous. The only reason I have a landline now is purely for internet access. As far as I'm concerned, using the landline is pretty defunct. It's defunct for a lot of people simply because the cost of mobile phone usage has come down so much that people aren't bothering with the landline anymore. And to be honest, as data over the telephone becomes both faster and cheaper, I dare say a lot of people get rid of the landline altogether because they won't need it for internet access as well. But now it's happening on the mobile as well. These last few years I get a lot of calls from people on my mobile. It used to be quite expensive to call mobiles, so the salespeople and the auto dialer spam or hack or whatever you want to call it, people didn't want to bother because they had to pay for it. Well, now that's getting cheap, so me mobile phone is going the same way. I can get 1 or 2 calls a day, sometimes a bit more, occasionally less, and you get to the stage where your phone rings nowadays, and it used to be quite important if the phone rang. Or it could be my mother or my girlfriend or my son or somebody like that. It could be somebody important who wants to talk to me about something I'm doing or something I'm planning or whatever. But now I get to the stage where if I hear the phone ringing, I don't jump up and run to the phone to answer it anymore. I just it's probably just another piece of nonsense that I really just don't want to deal with. And if it is important, they'll leave me a message and I can always pick it up off the messages, or they can contact me on Messenger via Facebook or the internet. So it's just being taken away from us. It's becoming an annoyance, a hindrance. Now there's all these tools you can get which are supposed to reduce the number of calls. I'm registered with the telephone service, I can't remember what it's called, but there's a service in the UK where you register with them and they're supposed to reduce the number of these kind of calls. But it doesn't make any difference now, and it's getting ridiculous. Also, the other problem is, of course, with some of these call blocking things, is you can actually end up blocking legitimate calls, so you're in a lose-lose situation anyway. I just think one of the problems with the drop in the cost of phone calls, which is in a lot of ways a good thing, is causing a fresh set of problems that we have to deal with, to the point where people might just deal with it by not answering the phone anymore. What's brought this on as well is text messages used to be a fairly sacred sort of way of transmitting information to people, but I'm starting to get spam text messages, and no, not again, not another thing that's going by the by. Email is still a very popular medium and it's still a very useful medium, but spam is a big problem on that. Phones is becoming a big problem on that. How long will it be before everything's gone that way? Any form of communication, because we want and we demand and we insist on cheap, if not free communication, will end up going that way. Facebook Messenger, how long will it be before we start getting spam messages on that? Advertising, I understand advertising, why people want to advertise, but it's going to end up ruining itself by overdoing it. Now, you could blame the companies that are advertising, but a legitimate company, a proper company, will hopefully be aware of over-egging the pudding and spoiling the medium by which they're advertising on. But these spammers and the hackers and the people who are trying to trick you out of money one way or another, they don't care. They don't care at all. They want to reach as many people as possible, because people are fairly savvy nowadays about the risks of all this kind of messages, you know, about handing over money to strangers and stuff like that. But if you can send out 1 billion emails or 1 billion text messages or 1 billion phone calls, you only need a 0.01% success rate to have, well, to make a fortune, really. So it's worth the while. Anyway, spam stuff. What can you do? It's a sign of the times, isn't it? I'm just thinking out loud. Cheers.